I thought this woman looked strong, good experience, and she's worked a lot with spreadsheets. So we'll invite these people for the interviews.
Good.
And this guy too?
Yeah, he's okay, but I thought he looked a bit old, really.
We don't ask people's age on the application form.
No, but you can tell. I mean, look, he worked in his last place for about 20 years. He must be in his 50s, 60 even.
So what, if he's good?
Are you kidding? It'd be like telling my dad what to do.
He fits the spec, let's see him.
He's overqualified.
Yeah, well, on paper, he's got what we're looking for. I mean, he might need some training on the software we're using, but...
I just think we're a young team. He won't fit in.
Well, if we employ him, it'll be up to you to make sure he does.
Yeah, the redundancy was a shock, but I'm trying to take the positives out of it. It was well over an hour's commute to my previous job. I felt this was a good opportunity to work closer to home.
You were in a senior position in your old job, weren't you?
The role carried a fair amount of responsibility, yes.
And yet here you're applying for a fairly junior job with us. Don't you think you're overqualified?
Every job is different. This would be a new situation for me, a new challenge. I'd find that stimulating.
But for how long? I think you'd find that compared to your previous role, this one is quite mundane. Won't you get bored?
Not if I felt I was contributing to the organisation. I'm certainly qualified for the job, and as I say, I'm keen to do it.
Good. Now, Bob, you were in your last job for... how long was it?
Almost 20 years.
That's a very long time. I'm sure you're used to doing things in a certain way. Do you really think you'd be able to adapt to a new company after all this time?
Well, it's always the same story. You get used to it after a while. The look of surprise when they come to meet you in reception. Cursory questions which tell you they've already made up their minds. You're too old. You'll be bored. You won't stick at it. You won't fit in.
I've seen Bob's type before. You know, the older guy, they've been made redundant. They're so desperate they'll apply for anything. You give them the job and then 5 minutes later they're telling you how to do yours. It's a nightmare.
Well, I don't think it went as well as I'd have liked. I don't think we really gave him the opportunity to show how well he matched the requirements of the job.
And I know he won't stick at it for the money we're offering. As soon as something better comes along, he'll be off, and we'll have wasted all the training we'd have to give him on the systems here.
I just wish I'd spent a little bit more time with Sarah before the interview going over the questions. I think she was a little bit hard on him.
I bet he doesn't really need this job either. He's probably got a nice bit of money saved up, and he's not far off getting his pension. If I'm honest, I'd rather give the job to somebody who really needs the money.
Sarah's response to that application was, I think, in practice, what many people think when they see applications like that. People might not say it quite as explicitly as Sarah said it in that scenario, but what they're thinking is this person is too old, I couldn't possibly manage them, they're going to be totally overqualified, they're not going to fit into the young team that I have here, and they're not going to want to be managed by me. And it's a real lack of confidence of Sarah's that she could manage somebody like that. In fact, what that applicant brought was a huge amount of experience, and really in any scenario that should have been good for her organisation. That should be a positive thing, something she'd probably be looking for. But she's really scared of being challenged in her position as a manager, in my view, and that's a real problem for employers, and it's a real problem for her manager when he's trying to challenge some of these stereotypes and some of these prejudices she has, and she just can't see that they're her problem and not the applicant's problem.
As you'll have seen from the job description, the work here can be quite process-driven. It's different from the more challenging work you were used to in your previous position. How do you feel about that?
It's something I've given a lot of thought to. Actually, I'd welcome a job that was a little less demanding. I'm prepared to go a couple of rungs down the ladder in order to have less pressure and more time for things outside work, to have a better work-life balance.
How satisfying would you find the work itself?
I'd find it satisfying if I felt I was doing a good job. I take pride in getting things done to the required standard and delivered on time. I'd like to get things right. And at whatever level I'm working, I get a sense of satisfaction from a job well done, and that's something I look forward to bringing to this job.
Bob, you're used to being a manager. How do you feel about being one of the team as opposed to the leader?
I'm not precious about that. For the last few years, I've been doing a bit of voluntary work for a local charity. Pretty routine stuff, filing, processing invoices, making the tea. I enjoy it, and they appreciate my help.
So, do you have much say in how things are done there?
From time to time, I put forward suggestions. Sometimes they take them up, sometimes they don't. I'm happy with that. The last thing the manager wants is me coming in and telling her what to do. What she needs is someone who she can rely on to do the admin. And that is what I do.